Hello everyone, welcome to the smart algorithm. Today we will discuss about the multi-catch block. How multiple exception catch through multiple catch block. How we can use multiple exception type and how we can catch multiple exception through catch block. So when first we will discuss when we need multi-catch block in our code. So when your code throw multiple type of exception, then you need to catch multiple type of exception. So let me show you. First of all, we will discuss like exception hierarchy. So this hierarchy I already discussed in my previous video. You can check out my exception hierarchy video. So our code throwing null pointer exception and also throwing arithmetic exception and also throwing array out of bound exception and also throwing it can be any exception, or if our code throwing multiple exception and you want to perform any particular operation for particular type of exception, then you can write multiple catch block. I'll show you uh, how we can uh, throw multiple type exception and how we can handle through multi catch block. So let me create one class where we will throw multiple type of exception. So I will name it multi exception. So I've created one class which name is multi exception, and let me write the main method. Okay, in Eclipse it's main, I think, yes. So I'm taking one example, like I'm using array. My array equal to, I have taken 5 value in my array. Okay, okay. So let's discuss about the array exceptions. Suppose I have an array type of integer and I'm taking its value like 1 2 3 4 5 6. So I have taken one array, its size is 6, and I'm trying to access this out. So I'm trying to access its 7th position. So let me run this code. So it is throwing error, and error type is array index out of bound exception. So this is one of the type of exceptions. As you can see here, array index out of bound exception here. So it is throwing array index out of bound exception, and let me handle this exception. Try and catch. So I'm writing array index out of bound exception. So I have written this type of exception and I'm printing this exception message. So let me run this code again. So this time it is showing the message, error message, index 7 out of bound for length 6. Okay. So it is saying that your array size is 6, but you're trying to access 7th index. So my exception is handled. Suppose let me create one more exception here. Suppose I have a string, its name equal to name, and its value is Alex something. Okay, now suppose I'm working on my code and somewhere this name value, let me print this name. Just forget this array for now, and writing here name, printing here name. So let me run this code. So my code is working fine, it is printing Alex, but in somewhere in my code it get null. And now after that, let's write the length here, not actual value. I'm printing the length of the string. Okay, so its length is 4, so it will print here 4. And since in second line I have assigned the null value to this string class object, to this string class. Okay, so now if I try to write the length for this variable, let's see what happened. So it is throwing the error. In this line it is printed length 4, but in length 14, as you can see here, it is showing the line as well. So 14th line, when again I'm trying to fetch the length of the string, so it is throwing the null pointer exception because my variable is null. Now I have assigned the null value to this name variable at the line of 13. So I hope we are clear till now. So let me handle this exception again. Catch null pointer exception. So let me print the message again here. Okay, I'm going to run this code again. So this time exception is not throwing, exception thrown, but it handle in my catch block. So I hope we are clear. So we are throwing different type of exception in my from my code, and I'm handling with multiple catch block. So your code may throw multiple type of exception. Like I'm again using this array, and again I will try to throw this exception again, array exception. So I'm trying to access the eighth index of the array, but before that this line will throw exception. So my code throw any type of exception. It may throw null pointer exception, it may throw error out of bound exception, or it may throw arithmetic exception. Let me create the arithmetic exception as well here. Like I will use two variable equal to 10, or I'm not taking the variable, I'm just throwing the error, arithmetic error. So like I'm dividing 10 from 0. Okay, so I'm commenting these lines so that I can run this line. Let me run this code. So it is throwing arithmetic exception. So my code throwing three types of exception, may throw three types of exception. One is null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, array index out of bound exception. So I can handle this arithmetic exception as well. Okay, so this exception also handled here. Let me write the message here. Now this exception is also handled. So I hope we are clear till now. So as I said that for these all type of exception, if I don't want any different message for the different exception, I just want to handle my exception. You don't need to write these multiple catch block. Just write single catch block. I'm removing these catch block. Just write the exception class here because this is the parent class. Okay. Uh, as you can see here, this is the exception class is the parent class of these classes. Index out of bound exception, array index out of bound exception, arithmetic exception. So this exception class, as you can see here, is the parent class. So we can write only one catch block if you don't want to differentiate in error message. So just write one catch block. But if you want to print different message, or if you want to do something else with different type of exception, then you need to write multiple catch block. So I hope we are clear till now. If you have any doubt, please write in comment box. I will try to solve your problem. So let's understand one more thing. So from Java 7, so Java 7 uh, given a provision that you can write multiple exception in single catch block. Let me write like till now we have written just one exception type. Now I will return multiple exception, null pointer exception through pipe block. So I have written two type of exception, null pointer exception and array index out of bound exception. So these two exception will handle with this catch block. Other exception will handle with this catch block. So let me write something else here, like I'm writing two exception here, and I'm writing here single exception. So my code is throwing this time arithmetic exception. So arithmetic exception will go in this catch block. So it should print single exception here and with message. So let me so it has printed single exception and exception message. So that's how we can and one more important point for the interview perspective. Let me show you. Let me cut this exception catch block and paste before this block. Let's see what happened. So it started showing error. It is saying that an unreachable catch block for null pointer exception. It is already handled by the catch block for the exception. So why it is showing the error? It is because we have written this exception class above the null pointer exception. It means if the null pointer exception throw from this code, then null pointer exception will be handled in this catch block already. So this code is unreachable, as it is showing that unreachable catch block. So Java compilers check if any uh, catch block is handled by so it check line by line. So if it get any catch block with that throws exception. Suppose our code is throwing null pointer exception. So first, if it get any class which is the sub parent class of the throws exception, like an exception class is the parent class of this null pointer exception. So this type of exception will handle in this catch block. So we can't write this catch block after the exception class because it is the child class. So you can understand this like we can't write the child class after the parent class. So exception class is parent class and null pointer exception is the subclass, as we already discussed in hierarchy. So exception class is the parent class. After that, there are multiple exceptions. That is subclass of the exception class. So there are null pointer exception, array index out of bound exception. So we can't write the catch block with the child class after the parent class. So that is the most important question mostly interviewer ask. So you need to learn these type of tricky question related to exception.